This is the Harbor Management Commission Mooring Committee meeting on Wednesday, June 10th, 2020 at 10 a.m. via teleconference. My name is Jack Hirschler, Chair of the Mooring Committee. In light of COVID-19 and pursuant to Executive Order 7B of the town conducting this meeting via teleconference only, members of the public have been placed in a listen-only mode, and you will not be heard by the committee members, and there will be no live public comment. The public is encouraged to send comments for these meetings before or after the meeting to the following email, sapora@me.com. I'll spell that: Tango, Zulu, India, Papa, Oscar, Romeo, Alpha, Hotel @mikeecho.com with HMC Mooring Committee in the subject line. As you would in a public meeting, please include your name and address with your comment. All comments that are received and verified will be included in the minutes of this meeting with your name and address. Your email address will be excluded. Okay, let's begin. Can I take a roll so we have it on the recording? Jeff, are you there?
Harry.
Oh.
Harry, yes.
Jeff
Kim?
Stedman. I'm sorry.
Kim Taylor.
Yes.
Ed Billings.
Ed Billings. And Harry French. Okay, let's begin. The first item on our agenda is a Harbor Master's report. Ed?
Well, good morning, all. It's been relatively quiet in the harbor. Just to take care of some very old business, a new ramp was recently installed at the Tide Mill, so he is now in complete compliance with any applicable safety concerns. Regarding moorings, I've had a few returned mailings. These were due to either erroneous addresses or what we probably should call sticker failure. So apparently they're a little bit difficult, as more so than in years past. And the only other thing, I have received an anonymous tip about one illegal boat in the harbor, which I will be checking that out today. I would like to reserve comment for a couple of the other items on the list that I will address at that time, but that pretty much concludes my report. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the Harbor Master?
Ed, this is Jeff. What was the work at the Tide Mill Dam that was completed?
The ramp leading to a float was in a state of drastic disrepair, and we were concerned. We being Travis Furman at Pequot, whom I thanked for pointing that out to me. And sending me photos. I then contacted Tide Mill and the owner, and so they have replaced that ramp with a new aluminum ramp. Looks very stout. They had a lot of issues over the past couple of months. I've tried to continue to update the HMC on that status, but they had trouble locating contractors to do the work in light of COVID.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that we looked at a application some time ago to do work on the actual structure, I thought, of the dam or the spillway there, but that's a different thing than what you're talking about. Okay, thanks, Ed.
Correct.
Are there other questions for the Harbor Master?
Yes, this is Kim. Ed, you mentioned in the HMC meeting a couple of weeks ago that you thought we were going to have 115 moorings that were mooring permits, moorings that were completed in boats in the harbor, with a few more left.
Yes,
where does that stand?
They're actually that's in an ongoing state right now. I'm waiting to receive 3 new applications. The boats apparently are there or are in the process of getting to the North Anchorage. I've reached out to one, so hopefully that will be completed within the next few days.
Okay. So the
And
total.
one more. I mean, if you want to get down to specifics, there's one new addition on the wait list also.
Okay. So the total will be 118?
As of right now, yes.
Okay.
Ed, can you
And
comment
also,
on
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I forgot one thing. As an update to our last conference call, I did receive confirmation from 2 of the 3 individuals that they will not be bringing their boat in this year in the Lower Wharf area due to COVID and age of one individual.
Okay.
Ed, can you comment on the status of the new mooring tackle for, I believe it's Mr. Goldstein's Hinckley 29 vessel? I saw there was some email traffic on that in the last month or so.
Yes, that was completed. I haven't checked in with Mr. Goldstein. He was keeping his boat down at Cove Marina for a few extra days. I would be under the assumption that he will be in very shortly, if not already. And like I say, I'll be traveling down there today to check on this other boat. So, but I mean, as of the other day, which late last week, he was not in.
Okay. Are there any other comments, questions for the Harbor Master on his report?
No.
If not, we'll move on to the second item on the agenda, which is a discussion and update on the implementation of mooring tackle inspection and mooring tackle maintenance record keeping using the online mooring system to accomplish that. Ed?
Yes, I have to take, I believe, sole blame for this. In trying to contact Brad Hurley and then Jeff Engborg and Travis Herman to relay messages from Brad. One of the emails that was exchanged was an example from Brad that I don't believe that Jeff ever received that attachment. Totally my fault.
That's
so
the spreadsheet that was created for him to enter the data so that it could just be uploaded as a file into the online mooring system. Is that correct?
Correct. So I've reached out to Jeff again, and we'll touch base with him one way or another today to try to expedite that. I know he has time constraints with everything going on at the yacht club. As do I, in terms of who is going to be the person to do the actual data entry. So, I mean, with their spreadsheet information, their Excel spreadsheet information, we're hoping that everything can be included into that download in an efficient manner. Then
I have a question. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, then I was just going to add. Then we'll get back with Brad, and who says this is supposed to be a relatively easy exercise in putting things back together.
Yeah. So I have a question. I think it's probably for Kim or Jeff or both. I don't know what the history of this is. I'm in thinking about Section 16 and Section 17B of the Rules and Procedures. It's pretty clear that if the town owns all the tackle and that it's reasonable that we have a duty to ensure that our town property under our responsibility is being inspected and maintained, and under Section 17, clearly that it's our responsibility every 3 years as a Harbor Management Commission to raise the tackle for inspection by the Harbor Master or his designee, that we have an interest in having these records accessible to the Harbor Management Commission. Have we had meetings in the past? How have we accomplished that oversight duty with respect to this and reviewing the details of the record keeping in the past? I don't recall it in meetings I've attended. Jeff?
I don't recall that we've ever done that. that the commission has ever done that. The origin of the removal, I have to think about this because I'm thinking of, without pausing a whole lot, but the removal of the mooring tackle, a third of the harbor every year, that resulted from ongoing negotiations with the Shellfish Commission when the harbor management plan was being developed. And there was concern about providing opportunity for shellfishing in the harbor. And that was actually, it was somewhat contentious for a while. And then it was agreed that instead of removing the mooring tackle every year, which the Shellfish Commission had initially asked for, as I recall, that we do it on a rotating basis, and that anybody who wanted to remove shellfish from the harbor could do so. When a part of the harbor was now whether any shellfishermen have actually ever come into the harbor and done that, I don't know. There was a relay when before the dredging project when we removed all of the tackle at one time, but that just deals with the background to doing it. Then you've got the other issue of the safety and the need to do this just to maintain harbor safety. And I don't recall. I mean, I can ask Pat and Lou, but I don't recall we ever had meetings to discuss it was a responsibility of the yacht club to do that as part of the agreement with the yacht club to provide certain boating services. And that was related to another agreement that was developed in the harbor management plan, which allowed the yacht club to utilize what used to be the North Anchorage and have other considerations. So that's a long answer.
The language in 17B talks about that the harbor management commission shall be doing the raising, or we can designate somebody obviously to do that for us, which we do, and then the harbor master inspects it, or he can designate that to be inspected.
Yeah. So it was always just designated to the yacht club to do that.
Right. I guess my question is, what duty do we have as a commission for the town's property under our supervision to review the stuff? And it relates to having this data into the same system that we're managing the moorings and moving forward with making sure that's being done. It does seem like either it's in that system or it's in some other suitable way for us to review it, since we're responsible for the town's property under our responsibility.
Well, this is Kim. I think that several years ago when somebody underbid the yacht club and came in and did a terrible job and didn't really know what they were doing until that time. Did the commission as a group really ever pay any attention to the notion that that they had to pay attention to the tackle and the maintenance of it and the inspection?
I don't know.
Yeah, Pequot had always taken care of the mooring tackle and maintenance of it.
Yeah, my question is not questioning in any way the quality of the work that Pequot is doing. My question is whether we as Harbor Management Commission have an obligation to have some kind of an annual review or some periodic review of the maintenance of the records for that, which would be in the system that we're using for mooring tackle. And if not in that system, some other review in some other database that we should be taking a look at, given the fact that the town owns all of tackle except for that in the North Anchorage.
Well, this is Kim. I think that's an excellent question, and certainly reading these two rules suggests that we do have that obligation, and I'm unaware of any meeting, and Jeff's already really spoken to this, that where a question has come up even about where that information is housed.
Right. So this would be helpful for us to to exercise our own oversight responsibility and also be helpful to demonstrate the quality work that the Yacht Club has been doing on our behalf. So I think we should, whether Ed, you arrange with Jeff to get this data uploaded into the online mooring system, which would be, I think, my own personal view of the way this should be done, so it's in one database, or if it's going to be maintained some other way, it seems like on a meeting that we can have in person that we should plan to have a presentation of the data by our vendor.
I'll arrange that with Jeff.
I mean, clearly we'll need to wait till we are able to have a face-to-face meeting. This doesn't seem to make sense by phone, but hopefully will be soon that we can do that. But in the meantime, I'd like to see if we can move this process forward with the spreadsheet that's been provided or by some other means to get it into the online mooring system. And I think, Ed, as you and I talked about, once it's entered the first time, the rest of it is really just an update. It's not the hardest work is the first-time entry of data, and after that.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
And I recognize that. And I mentioned to you, Ed, that if I can be helpful, if it requires some typing, I'll be happy to do that if that's what's needed.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments on mooring tackle inspection record keeping?
Right. No, I think it's an excellent idea that it all be in one place.
Yeah. I mean, the system is already designed to accomplish that. We just haven't implemented that piece yet, so I agree with you. I think, Harry, that's a good idea. Pequot Yacht Club's application to the Connecticut Deep for the certificate of permission for mooring floats. These are the 4 Ideal 18 floats and the so-called whaler dock mooring float. Any update on the status of that anyone could share?
This is Jeff again. I talked with Mr. Rakowski at RACE yesterday, and I don't quite understand what's the deep process now for submitting these applications online, but they're preparing to submit it to DEEP online. And the first thing that they have to do, if I'm explaining this correctly, which they've done, is send an email or a notice to DEEP saying that, we're prepared to submit this. Please tell us, how to upload it to some sort of system where it's formally submitted. So it's prepared to be submitted. They're waiting for some, perhaps this is the way to say it, waiting for some instructions from DEEP, but they anticipate submitting it this week. And at the same time they submit it, then that's when the DEEP requirement takes effect, that they provide a copy to the Harbor Commission as well. So, presuming that they have instructions from DEEP of how to submit it this week, they will then send an electronic copy to the Harbor Management Commission as well as a paper copy. And my thought is that we should anticipate receiving this by the end of the week and put the discussion of it on the agenda for next week, if that's possible.
Okay.
Because since this is a certificate of permission, DEEP can act quickly on it and doesn't have to, wait a month or they could act quickly on it. Not that they will, but just in case that they do act quickly on it, I think we want to be prepared to discuss it next week if it is submitted.
So we can set an agenda, and if it's not submitted, then we can just put it off for the next meeting.
Yeah.
But
this is
also,
Kim.
I'm sorry.
I will
Kim.
do that. No, that's right. I will do that. Put it on the agenda.
But also there would be a requirement that if there's a matter to be discussed at a public meeting of the Commission, the matters to be discussed, if there's a submittal, are supposed to be posted with the agenda so the public is, whether it's the Yacht Club's application or anybody else's. So I don't know. I can check with Betty. I don't believe she's working today, but when the agenda has to be posted. So if it is posted on Friday, that would give us time to attach to the agenda the submittal from the Yacht Club that we would be discussing.
Right. And then consistent with the town's requirements, if the yacht club wanted to provide additional information for consideration by the commission, they would need to send that by email to the harbor, the commission's chair, Kim, before the meeting for us to include in our conversation, since that will also be a virtual meeting next week. Correct?
Yeah, it makes
Right.
it difficult to...
Right. Really complicates things.
Rules,
Yeah.
It complicates things, yeah.
Right.
I mean, in the past, we've had someone from RACE come and put up the drawings and explain what's going to happen, and it's very much harder to imagine. I mean, not that this is very complicated, but it's so much easier to consider the issue when you can see the drawings and hear the explanation, and or the applicant can speak.
Right. This is Jeff again, and it although this isn't a process that's in a regulation or a procedure, but the practice that was developed over time for discussing applications from anybody affecting the harbor involved a presentation by the applicant, questions by the Harbor Commission, the opportunity for the public to make comments and ask questions, and
right.
Then the next phase was for the applicant to respond to any public comments or questions, and then for the commission to make a finding. So that process is that was a reasonable process that we developed, but that's not possible to do right now.
I am curious about how town government bodies like the Zoning Board of Appeals is operating right now if the person filing can't present their case. So perhaps there's been some resolution of how these situations are handled under the COVID guidelines, where it's reasonable that the person should be able to represent themselves, and perhaps that could be applied here as well. So if you're talking to somebody in the town, Jeff, maybe we can get some guidance on that, or Kim, I don't know.
We'll find out. But I do know in other towns, not to belabor or prolong this meeting, is that the virtual meetings do provide an opportunity for presenters to be unmuted and talk about their project, and then also for the public to make comments. It's interesting that doesn't a provision for that hasn't been established in Fairfield. But I'll discuss it. I'll find out about it.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Jeff.
Are there any other comments on item 3 on the agenda relative to the certificate of permission filing by Pequot? Okay. Next item on the agenda is any new business. Are there other items for the mooring committee to discuss today? All right.
This is Harry.
Hi, Harry.
Just wanted to make a comment. Someone left a note in a boat at the main dock stating that he has been parking his boat in this spot. I would just like to make a comment that as far as I know, it's space available for mooring your little skiff to go out to any other boat, and a space available. That's always been my understanding. I don't know if that is the actual, if there is a space assigned at the main dock for the rowboats or not, but that was a first in 50 years of having a boat down there.
This was this is Ed Billings again. This was left in a boat that pretty much does not have an owner who has a mooring. Is that correct?
No, it was the note was left in my boat that is actually right next to where the fire extinguisher is. And the person was basically stating that you're putting your boat in my spot. And to my knowledge, that there's never been any assignment of a particular space on the dock for anybody's particular boat.
I understand fully now. Right. I can reach out and find out. That's my knowledge as well. I mean, you having had your boat there for many years, I would imagine that there are a number of people who have always kept their boat in one particular spot, so they assume that that spot is quote-unquote theirs. But I'll reach out to Justin Cathcart and see if there are indeed allocated spots and get back to you on that. Is that okay?
Oh, sure. No problem.
Okay.
Also, I'd like to make another comment. I did call the Justin's office. The blue hose that comes down from the mainland down onto the dock, there was a crack in it, and it's leaking so that the hose really isn't that usable on the dock. That's probably a town of Fairfield maintenance type thing.
Yes. I'll mention that at the same time that I talk with him, Harry.
Okay, good.
Any other comments or new business? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move.
I'll make
Kim,
a
I'll
motion
move.
to adjourn.
All right, thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Everybody
This
stay
concludes
well.
the meeting of the Harbor Management Commission's Mooring Committee. See everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Gary.